And we continue at 2:05 in the afternoon on the John Phillips Show. Mr. Randy Wangs in Culver City.
Mike writes in at johnnydon'tlikeshow@gmail.com. Californians are already like the guy that woke up in the bathtub of ice minus a kidney, and now they've come for the other one.
Well, if you haven't voted yet, you want to. You have just under 6 hours to do it. The polls closed at 8 o'clock. If you're going to do it by mail, it needs to be post-stamped by 8 o'clock. So make sure that happens. But I know many of you want to vote in person. If that's what you would like to do, the voting centers are open until 8. I've heard mixed results in terms of how crowded they are. I've heard some reports that some of them are quite crowded, and I've heard some reports saying you can get right in and vote, and it's not that big of a problem. So I guess it depends on where you live. 800-222-5222 is the telephone number, 1-800-222-5222. Let's go to Sue in Oakdale. Sue, hello.
Hi. Thank you for taking my call. Oakdale's polling center is definitely easy to get into. I just dropped off my ballot, so it was really easy to get into. As far as no on 50 signs, they are prevalent around where I'm living. However, I was in Napa Valley on the 25th of October, and it was all yes on 50 signs. That does not surprise me, being the close proximity to the Bay Area, and I know the way that leans. But I do believe that the lady was correct. I think she was from Napa, saying that signs are being taken down. We saw a whole bunch of that during the presidential campaign, even in Oakdale. So that, some, Trump signs were getting torn down, and so you'd have to replace them. So it doesn't surprise me that if that might be the case right now. But I have been hearing yes on 50 when I listen to, I have Sirius Radio through my TV. So it's like, so when I'm listening and their ads come through, it's like, oh my God, it's yes on 50 this, yes on 50 that. And it's like, okay, guys, where's no on 50?
I'm getting the same thing. When I'm watching the baseball playoffs or I'm watching whatever it is that I'm watching on television, it seems like every time they go to commercial break, there's a yes on 50 ad. But I can count on two hands how many no on 50 ads I've seen on television or heard on the radio. And I've lost count of how many yes on 50 ads I see because it's essentially every time they go to a commercial. Even if you're watching a streaming service, if you're watching something on Peacock or Hulu or whatever, and they go to the ads on those networks are for yes on 50 as well. If you're watching YouTube, I'm watching my gambling influencers, I'm watching Vegas Matt or whatever. When they go to the ads on YouTube, that's what you get. You get the yes on 50 ads. So it's unavoidable. But the no on 50 ads, they're few and far between. And certainly I never see them on programs where the ratings are huge. When you're watching the World Series and you know that when there's a California team involved in the World Series, a lot of televisions in California are on that game. It was yes on 50 ads every time they went to a commercial break. And no on 50 was nowhere to be seen. So I don't know where the money's going, but it wasn't going to ads during the World Series. I can tell you that much.
That is true. And I definitely think the other person who touched on maybe they're trying to save part of it for the legal fight because there is most likely going to be one. So I totally understand that point. But I also have to say that the California Republican Party as a whole, they're almost non-existent. I mean, Republicans in the state already don't really have a voice. This isn't going to help us any if this passes. But the leadership of the California statewide Republican Party doesn't really help us either. They don't answer you. You don't see them a lot either. So it doesn't, on the one hand, it doesn't surprise me, but on the other hand, it really did.
All right. Thank you for the call. Let's go to Joseph in Santa Cruz. Joseph, hello.
Hello, John and Randy. Thanks for taking my call. I use the streaming service Fubo, and for the last probably 3 to 4 weeks, they've been having a lot of no on 50 ads running for a while, and then the last probably 2 weeks, you've been seeing a lot of yeses also on it. But when I was watching Newsmax, that's all I was watching, and also I noticed also on some of the stuff when I watch on YouTube, there was advertising for no on 50, so they are using their money. But I didn't notice on the back on the ads, it did show, I forget the gentleman's name, but he's the billionaire that is funding a lot of it. Most of the ads that I saw was under him that he was paid for on Newsmax.
Charles Munger.
Yeah, correct. So, but I did see a lot of ads. So, I mean, for a while, I was actually becoming kind of annoyed with it because I was just trying to watch TV, and that's all I was seeing.
All right. Thank you for the call, sir. Let's go to Becky in Dublin. Becky, welcome.
Thank you. Hi, John. I just wanted to share with you that I will be voting today. I'll be dropping off my ballot, but I'll probably do it maybe like a half hour before they close or something, because for me, it's just a trust issue. You know, you've heard so many horror stories of people's ballots and everything, what they do with them, you know. And I just want to make sure my vote is counted. I don't want to sit in anywhere where somebody has idle time to think of doing something else with it, you know?
So you're going to get it in just under the wire.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you for the call. Let's go to Roger in La Habra. Roger, hello.
Hey, John. Thank you for taking my call. Just real quick, this is about California will always be a Democratic state, and they'll always vote that one way. And another thing, this is like a big FU to Trump because he failed everybody. Prices, tariffs, everything expensive, immigration. I understand taking the criminals, but like going to the Home Depot and the car washes and breaking the kids away from families, it all comes together, man. That's all I wanted to say.
All right. Thank you for the call. And it sounds like that voter is responding to the ads that are put on television, which is just making an up-down vote on Trump. And in a state where Trump lost, that should be enough to get it over the finish line. Now, it looks like that is likely the case. But if you are a voter in California looking for representation, this isn't good for you. This is not something that is going to better your representation in Washington, get a voice in Washington that's closer to you, the people. That is not going to happen. It's going to make sure that so many of these elections have predetermined outcomes. However, if the motivation is you just want to go out and stick it to Trump, I guess that just doesn't bother you much. Thank you for the call, Sarah. Let's go to Inga in Los Angeles. Inga, hello.
Hi, Johnny, and hi, Randy. When I was on your live show by Sherman Ray, then I bought this No on 50 advertising where that nuisance is playing with those dolls. So I put it Saturday on Riverside Drive, and it hung up for a few days, and then today it's taken off. And I voted, I always vote in person, so I went yesterday to Alessandro's school to vote, and I was only voter, and there were 10 people assisting me.
That's usually how it looks. A lot of volunteers out there.
Yeah, but, I received like every day at least 2 emails who asked me volunteer with the Republicans for No on 50, but I just didn't have time. But at least I put that poster up.
All right. Well, thank you for that. I appreciate it. Let's go to Stan in Redondo Beach. Stan, hello.
Yeah, I for the longest time I didn't hear the no advertisements, and I started seeing a few. But I tell you, the most nauseating yes for 50 ad comes from that Tom Steyer. my God, he calls Trump a bully, and the Democrats told me not to do this ad and everything, but I've learned to hit the mute button a lot. I sure.
Well,
thank,
you know what's
thank you for
funny?
your show.
Well, you're welcome. I was looking at Politico this morning, and they had a piece out saying that the Democratic Party is furious with him because they focus grouped all of the ads, and they found out that the Tom Steyer ads both backfired. That if you were to see one of the Yes on 50 ads that Tom Steyer paid for, by the time you were finished watching the ad, you would be more likely to vote for No on 50 than Yes on 50.
I can understand that. I can't take it.
All right. Thank you for the call. Let's go to Mike in Vallejo. Mike, hello.
John, Randy, how you guys doing, man? I just walked out of my polling place just now, and I was just thinking about I wanted to call you guys on this last time you were doing this a couple weeks ago, but I saw one No on 50 sign, and the irony is unbelievable. It was northbound 880 in Oakland. And Randy, cue it up. It was on the overpass for Hagenberger. And it was gone the next day.
Right there off the Hagenberger, you say.
And it was gone the next day, Randy. I mean, gone.
Hagenberger.
Now, if it's on the Hagenberger, it could mean that the Yes on 50 people didn't want to look at it, or it could just be that everything over there gets stolen.
Yes, take your poison. Absolutely. Did I say that? Yes, I did.
All right. Thank you for the call, sir.
Absolutely.
Let's go to Ishmael in Vallejo. Ishmael, hello.
Hey, thank you for calling. I'm here to vote right now, and no, I'm 50. I'm just wondering, like everybody's talking about, why we don't see a lot of no on 50, but we do see a lot of yes, even at advertisement. Is that I'm just wondering if the Democrat, it's more than Republican. So what happened to the Republican in pushing this advertisement? Is it somebody hiding those advertisement or whatever?
Well, I don't think that they're hiding them. I think that what happens is sometimes a lot of the money just gets gobbled up in quote unquote administrative fees, meaning you have a lot of people with a lot of hands on that money and everyone gets their cut. Think about what happens when the government spends money on homelessness and they give money to all these homeless charities, yet the problem gets bigger. The answer is not that the number of people living on the streets or that the homeless people in California is just exploding because of some natural situation. It's because the money that they're supposed to be spending on the homeless, that's being gobbled up by the organization. And if the organization keeps all of the money, then the number of people living on the streets isn't going to be reduced. It's going to increase. And we've seen that happen over time. With all of these organizations getting rich, I mean, how many politicians start out working for a homeless organization where they then decide, okay, I've got the political muscle, I've got the money, why not just run for office myself? And that's frequently what happens. And if you solve the problem, then the money goes away. So no one has any interest in solving the problem. They just need an issue that results in money coming in the shop. And as long as money continues to come in the shop, then everyone working in the shop gets rich and the problem persists. Thank you for the call, sir. Let's go to Joshua in Pico Rivera. Joshua, hello.
Hi. It's bad enough that we see these ads all the time, or we have to usually wait, like you were saying, that during the commercial breaks and all the games, there they are again continuously. But the thing is, that gets my goat is every time we got to put up with Barack Obama's face, Elizabeth Warren, AOC, all these people butting into California politics, and they're on the same side. They already got the media in their back pocket, the Democratic Party does. And we got to put up with this. 4 years ago, Barack Obama would come on Sunday on TV and saying, "Good evening, Californians. This week you have a chance to stop the Republican takeover," and blah, blah, blah. And now he's at it again. And all these former presidents, when they retire from office, they go away, they retire, they live a life of dignity. This clown stays in Washington, never left, and he's still involved, still trying to control things. And the American people put up with that stuff. You're not involved in California politics. You're not in California, and there he is, sticking his nose in again. the money, the advertisement, everything else, the media, and we're really fighting a battle uphill trying to get anything for the Republicans or even the voting. And if Proposition 50 wins, we're going to have even less Republicans in Sacramento. This state is gone totally.
Well, and the other one that he got involved in this time was in the race for mayor of New York City, where he was super excited over Mamdani. He was very excited over that candidate, and he weighed in on that one too. And you're right, it is bizarre for a former president. Usually they stay on the sidelines and they do whatever charity thing. I know Jimmy Carter did Habitat for Humanity and those sorts of things. George W. Bush, you rarely hear from. Bill Clinton occasionally gets involved. He'll give speeches at conventions, but then again, his wife was the candidate, so of course you would expect that. But you're right. I mean, Obama weighs in on a lot of these issues. Some of it could be because of his age. He's younger than a lot of these other presidents, and maybe because of that, he has decided that he is going to remain active politically. But I don't know. I mean, the fact that he was so enthusiastic to get behind Mamdani shows you where he is ideologically, because he would like to portray himself as being more of a centrist than he actually is. If you're comfortable enthusiastically supporting a socialist for an office like that, I don't know what that says about your politics, but it certainly doesn't mean that you're a moderate. Thank you for the call, sir. 800-222-5222 is the telephone number, 1-800-222-5222. If you'd like to email the show, you can do so at johnnydon'tlikeshow@gmail.com. That's johnnydon'tlikeshow@gmail.com. And now that the show is, well, we're about 30 minutes away from being at the end of the show. If you want to continue listening to us after we sign off at 3, that's easy to do.
All you got to do is search for The John Phillips Show wherever you get your podcasts, whether it's the Apple Podcasts app, iHeart, Spotify. Search for The John Phillips Show. Hit subscribe. You could download all the episodes. You could do a Google on the YouTube. You can get the free KABC app. You can get the free KSFO app. You can get the KMJ Now app and listen to us Saturdays at 2 in the Central Valley. There are so many different ways to listen live to these radio stations and download all the podcasts. And even though the Prop 50 campaign is over, we'll be here to cover the governor's race and all those candidates for the whole next year.
Get out of my shot.
In the meantime, what do you say we make a couple of listeners very happy?
Well, let's do that right now. 790 KABC welcomes George Thorogood to the Bank of America Performing Arts Center on March 8th, 2026. Tickets on sale Friday at Ticketmaster.com. But right now, caller number 9 at 1-888-790-5222 gets a pair of tickets to the show. Tickets furnished by Nederlander Concerts. Good luck dialing.
Let's go to Mike in Long Beach. Mike, hello.
Hey, what's going on? And I'm so fired up. And you know what's crazy is this whole Prop 50 is just a big thing to show that Newsom's going to run for president, and he's just appeasing his voters, and he's going to lose. And I'm just throwing that out there. But bottom line is, I've seen so much no campaign on social media, which I don't know if any money went to that, but on my Facebook with the algorithms and Instagram, all the stuff that I follow, I have seen a lot of no on 50. But overall, I voted in person last week, and you know it's funny. I get the liberals get really upset with me when I say, oh, by you supporting Prop 50, you are just saying Texas, we're going to stoop. We're going to get to your level. I don't want to say stoop because Texas already did in their constitution that they could do that on their own without giving it to a vote. And then that's what Californians are going, well, at least we get to vote on it. And that's not even the case here. We voted to have congressional lines drew by an independent party. Now this is done by a closed room people, which we all know it's shady. But bottom line is I have seen some campaigning, quite a few when I follow a couple people, and there's a fight, but I don't know how much fight we're putting up here. I'm praying for a miracle.
All right. Thank you for the call, sir. 800-222-5222 is the telephone number, 1-800-222-5222. Let's go to Kenneth in Riverside. Kenneth, hello.
Hello, John. How you doing?
Good.
Good. Oh, okay. Well, basically, I just want to, like your last caller, they've really saturated a lot of yes on YouTube. They bombarded it on our local channels, and the only advertisement I've seen for no, and in LA they got billboards because I commute every during the week. And the only electronic billboard that I seen with no was in Riverside, over there by McKinley, by Corona and Riverside border. It's I don't know what happened, but like on the gas tax one, they really made an effort for like house yard signs and everything. I don't know what happened on this one. They really didn't. I didn't see any not too much interest on advertising.
And it's funny because sometimes, it seems like every election, we get a ballot initiative about kidney dialysis. And I feel like the only ads I see for an entire election season are either for or against kidney dialysis. And I can't even tell you which side has the most ads on television and radio because I see them from both sides. This time around, it felt like a one-sided conversation.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, that's all. I'm telling you, on YouTube, unless you're paying for it, you know how it pauses during the video or whatever. Every other commercial was yes on 50. I was like, wow. I was like, man, hey, they really pushed the yes. But
all right, thanks for the call, sir. I appreciate it. Let's go to Susan in the Bay Area. Susan, hello.
Hi, how are you?
Good.
I have a question and I have a statement. There's all you see here are pro ads for Prop 50. The one that I think is most egregious comes out of Oakland, your favorite city. It is on the TV station where they zero in on a ballot, and they have the yes and no circles, and then and it's magnified. They have a person with a Sharpie, and as the person is marking yes on the ballot, they're over talking it to give you a liminal brain association with that. And I found out that when I did my ballot and I voted against it, I had to stop for a second just to make sure I did it correctly because that vision popped up in my head. And the second question is, if the Democrats win this, will they be able to overturn Prop 13 in Sacramento?
Well, as the state gets more Democratic, then certainly the odds increase that they could get rid of Prop 13. However, even though the state has voted for Democrats in statewide elections and voted for Democrats in the state legislature, we have seen the state maintain certain conservative principles that include voting to protect Prop 13. Public opinion just isn't there quite yet to get rid of it. So the Democratic Party would have to go against many of their own voters to do that. We've also seen that happen with the death penalty, where state voters have voted to affirm their support for the death penalty time and time again. And voters in California don't like race-based preferences. We voted on that just recently. And back in the day, we voted on Prop 209 that prohibited that from happening here in California. It is possible to push too far. It is possible, even if you are a one-party state, to take your own people for granted and just go in the direction that you want to go in, but maybe your supporters don't all want to go there with you. We saw that happen with crime and punishment, where the Democratic Party did not want Proposition 36. Gavin Newsom did not want Proposition 36. It went to a vote for the people, and it passed in all 58 counties. California Democratic Party was not happy about that. Gavin Newsom was not happy about that. But that's what the people of California want, which is part of the reason that they work so hard to turn this into an up-down vote on Trump. If you turn this into an up-down vote on Trump, then the Democrats get the desired result. If this becomes a debate over whether or not gerrymandering is okay, if it becomes a debate over whether or not this will result in better representation in Washington, they lose. So they can't allow those questions to be debated or asked. It was why, if you listen to yesterday's interview, when I would ask about those issues, you just got answers about Donald Trump or about protecting democracy or whatever it was that they want to just drive home. And that's the debate in terms of where they would like it to be. And that's where their ads are. And that's when they write about it in the newspaper and op-ed pieces. Those are the arguments that they hone in on. And they do so because they know that that is enough to get it over the finish line.
Okay. That's what I'm afraid of. So.
All right. Well, thank you for the call. I appreciate it. Let's go to Arnold in Anaheim Hills. Arnold, hello.
Hi, John. My observation on it is that I think the Republicans have really blown it as far as messaging goes. They should have played the Democrat card and talked about democracy and talked about numbers and talked about how 40% of the state, let's say, is Republican and 60% or whatever the number is Democrat. However, the representation is completely lopsided because the state's already been gerrymandered, and the preponderance of representation that we have is already Democrat.
Yeah, it's already Democrat, but they would like it to be more Democrat. The Democratic majority sees more juice out of the squeeze here.
Oh, there's no question about that. But if you do the old hearts and minds thing and fairness and all that good stuff that everything in the state is supposed to be about and that Newsom is supposed to be about, when you look at the lopsided nature of the whole thing, and when they show the two maps on TV and you've got one part that was Republican and the whole coastal part being Democrat, and now it's like the whole thing's Democrat, they just don't play that up. They talk about too many other things that sort of confuse, I think, the average person rather than talking about fairness.
Yeah, and certainly this is the antithesis to fairness. It's about political power. It's about Gavin Newsom taking political power and trying to use this as a way to frame himself as the one who will fight Donald Trump more than any other of the Democratic candidates. That is primarily what it's about. He's using what's going on right now in the House of Representatives as the excuse, but he was trying to do this before Proposition 50 passed. I mean, this is when he started with all the swearing, and he started with the podcast, and he started to position himself as the fighter. Right now, the Democratic voters are split on any number of subjects. You saw that play out during the presidential campaign. Do you want Joe Biden to step down? Yes or no? Well, they were split. They weren't all on the same page. Do you think that biological men should participate in girls' sports? They're split on that subject. The one thing that unites all of them is that they all hate Donald Trump. And so Gavin Newsom sees this as a way to bridge the moderates in the Democratic Party with the liberals in the Democratic Party and portray himself as the leader of the resistance and as the one who can bring those two wings of the party together as they get closer to the next presidential election.
I agree 100% with you. 100%, but it just would be good if the Republicans could play the fairness and democracy card a little smarter than the Democrats do.
All right, thanks for the call, sir. Let's go to Farron in Santa Monica. Farron, hello.
Yeah, hi.
Hi.
You there?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I just, last week I think you were talking about this subject, and I almost called in because I thought, wait, what does he mean they're not spending the money? Because in my little world, I live in Santa Monica, I received over half a dozen No on 50. I talked to my mailman, and he said, yeah, I'm carrying a ton of these No on 50s all over the neighborhood. And I also received over half a dozen No on 50 emails. And I've also saw a No on 50 on one of the off stations. I think it was Roku or something like that. I saw quite a few. So from my point of view, I was just a little bemused. But I believe you. It is interesting here that I live in Santa Monica. I'm sure it's not No on 50 here, but it just seemed like I was inundated. Now, I am politically active. I subscribe to Mike Netter News. I pay attention to what's going on. I'm part of the LA County GOP. I keep up with them. So perhaps that's why. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, maybe they see you as a super high propensity voter, so they communicate with you all the time. That being said, I've never missed an election. I turn out and I vote every single time they send me a ballot, and I've received almost no communication from them. Thank you for the call. And Randy, you're coming up later on in the day here in Southern California on KABC, and I would imagine it's going to be a lot of election talk.
We'll be talking Prop 50, and some of the results will be coming in for some of the East Coast places. We'll check in with that, and we'll take people's calls based on the fact if they actually went to vote today, what that was like. So if you're in L.A., it's on 790 KABC, 7 to 5 to 6 every day. If you're in the Bay Area and you want to listen, get the KABC app or go to KABC.com.
All right, let's go back to the phones and welcome Mike in Santa Rosa. Mike, hello.
Hi. I was just curious what your opinion is on the gerrymandering that's taking place in Texas right now to give more votes to, I guess, the Republican Party.
Yeah, I don't like redrawing the lines mid-cycle at all, just across the board. I'm not a fan of that. I don't like it. You're supposed to do it every 10 years. Do it the right way every 10 years, and then move on. That being said, what we've seen happen this cycle is just different from what we're used to across the board. It all started out with New York, when New York redrew their lines after a judge told them to do it, and they redid their map, and Democrats gained 3 seats. And I think if you're sitting in Texas and you're irritated that because of the COVID caused population shifts all over the country. And you saw people leaving states like New York and people leaving places like California and Massachusetts and New Jersey and Connecticut. And they went to places like Florida and Texas. So if you're sitting in Texas and you're saying, now, wait a minute, we got shorted by about 3 congressional seats and 3 electoral votes because of COVID. And then New York, midway through the decade, redrew their lines to give the Democrats 3 more seats. And then a judge comes in and tells Texas to do what New York did. It becomes real easy to redraw the lines. That being said, we're just better off not doing that altogether. I wish Texas wouldn't have done it. I wish New York wouldn't have done it. I don't want California to do it. And I think had we not moved forward with Prop 50, you wouldn't have seen this cascade of other states getting in on the action too.
Okay. Because it seems well Texas had done it first. You know, they had done it. And well, of course, with the president asking for more, right? I don't think that's appropriate either, to ask the governor to give you more congressional seats. And then, of course, California.
Don't forget about New York, though. New York beat Texas to the punch. They did it first.
Yeah.
They redrew their lines that gave the Democrats 3 more seats before Texas started moving on this at all.
Yes.
So I'm just of the belief that we're better off to just wait the 10 years and do it then. But you're going to see huge population shifts this next census, in part because of COVID, but also in part because of just government. You know, in places like California, it's hard to start a business. It's hard to, if your home burned down in a fire, it's hard to rebuild. You know, imagine being one of these people in the Pacific Palisades right now where you're trying to get your life back together and every roadblock imaginable is being put in front of you. A lot of those people just aren't going to stay there. Whether they move within the state of California or move out of state, it'll differ based on the person you're talking to. But, you know, it's part of a larger pattern of people leaving places like California for red states like Texas and Florida. And I think you're going to see more of it.
Okay. Yeah, but I also don't think the president should be getting involved in asking for more congressional seats. I don't think that's his position. I'm against it all, as you are all across the board. I voted no on 50. So I don't agree with it one way or the other. But I don't hear a lot about what Texas is doing in the other states. It seems to be focused on how California is in the wrong. But I think we should talk about all the states being in the wrong rather than just what we're doing here. So,
well, and by the way, I don't think our independent commission is perfect either. I think it's better than the alternative, but it's far from perfect.
Yes, absolutely. But it at least is something.
Yeah. All right. Thanks for the call, sir. Let's go to Allison in Whittier. Allison, hello.
Oh, hi. Thanks for taking my call. I just have a quick comment. I'm calling because nobody else has mentioned this, but, I'm a strong Trump supporter, and I'm strongly against 50, and I voted no right away. But I don't put a yard sign in my yard, and I don't put any bumper stickers on my car because I'm an older female. I live alone. And I'm just afraid of vandalism and worse because of my political opinions. And I'm probably not unusual. I mean, I watch the news and I see which team has the violent rhetoric, which team is violent. Just look at what goes on downtown. I'm surprised that people are questioning why aren't we seeing more advertisements? You sure don't see any yard signs for no on 50, at least not around me. So I don't know what the answer is. It's kind of sad, and I think it's just going to get worse and worse.
I think you're right. There are a lot of shy. There are a lot of shy voters who are afraid to show their support, especially in a state where they know they're outnumbered. I mean, I can tell you, when I was working at CNN. And I was doing essentially what Scott Jennings is doing today. I was the voice of dissent in many of those panels. And I would go out to dinner here in California every so often, and it was always people who were drunk, and it was people who were in a group because they would never do that if they were solo. And I'm 6'4", so I'm a big person. But if you're out with older people or you're out with women and you're sitting down and they've got a little liquid courage, they'll come up and they'll start screaming at you and they'll cause a scene. And that happened on a regular basis. Now, I'm in the arena. I'm used to it. So, I would just move on. But I would imagine if you're a single female and you support the no position on Prop 50, being hesitant to put a sticker on your car or a sign in your yard because you don't want that kind of negativity coming your way. All right. Thank you for the call. I appreciate it. Let's go to Vince in Orange. Vince, hello.
Hey there. Thank you for taking my call. Appreciate it. Appreciate all that you do all the time. Two things real quick. It's going to be interesting to see how this whole thing plays out with 50 and if people continue to move out, because there's a lot of Democrats that are also moving out because they have created the problem and have them are still leaving and trying to go to other states, and who knows what they're going to do there. The interesting thing I read on the ballot was it's going to be upwards of $3 million to change a lot of things that they're going to have to do to redistrict. So that's more money going out of the state, or out of the coffers, I should say. And one real quick thing about Mamdani, it's really shocking how New Yorkers are gravitating towards him. Younger folks, of course, and maybe they just still don't understand. New York is a capitalistic system. It's not even a city, it's a system. And to take that away from what they plan on doing, if he does win, God forbid, which he might, is going to completely create this void of money. Like all these firms.
Yeah, we're up against a hard break, so I'm going to have to cut you off there. But yeah, just because Wall Street is there now doesn't mean it has to be there forever. Thanks for the call. It's election day. You have until 8 o'clock in the evening to vote, so cast your ballots, and we'll see you tomorrow at noon.